What's up, guys? It's the Card Boss here, back with another video. It's been quite a while, and if you do realize, the channel is now called the Courtside Investor Podcast. Just a quick one. You're probably wondering why the change of name. So I chatted with a few friends during the last SEA show, and just got some getting some general feedback on the channel, and perhaps one of the things they pointed out was maybe I should have a more recognizable name, something easier to remember. So I went back, trying to figure out what kind of name, that I like. Initially when I came out with the previous name, Sports Card Podcast is pretty straightforward, right? So, but something a bit more, I would think, in the name. So, because the channel is basketball related, so the natural word that I was, searching out for was courtside, and something that I like. And because this is mainly a business, finance, investment kind of channel, so Courtside Investor was born. So it's called the Courtside Investor Podcast. Now, in addition to the YouTube channel being renamed to this, I do have a new website, which is called courtsideinvestor.com. Aside from tagging some of my videos in there, I do have some original written content. For some of you guys who are not aware, I used to write quite a fair bit in terms of blogging when I was doing my Magic the Gathering days. Very casual kind of written content, more about my trips, basically expressing my feelings throughout my journey, during my Magic the Gathering days, during the competition, things like that. For those who enjoy some amateur writing, do feel free to check out in the link below here. All right. Okay, enough about that. Coming back to the meat of today's video, it's gonna do something I've been putting off for quite a fair bit, which is basically a sales update, my revenue update up to today. So I've been meaning to do one every single month, but right now the last update I did was in March, end of March this year, and it's supposed to do one end of April, but put it off. And right now we're sitting on the 1st of June, so I do have 2 months of sales data with me right now. We're just gonna go through some of the cards that I've been selling. Some of you guys may find it interesting to understand kind of my train of thought on what kind of cards that I've been buying, as well as what kind of cards I've been selling, and how I did with these cards. And the final results might shock you, right? I'm going to save that for a bit later. So I'm going to screen share a summary first of where I am today, all right? So just give me a second. All right, so here we go. So this is the Excel spreadsheet of my sales report. As you can tell, this is the last update I did on the 6th of June. All total here, the one in green. And if I sum it up in totality, this was my last update, total sales of 250K plus. All right, across a span of roughly about 3 months plus a week. So it's about like maybe 13 weeks of sales data. All right, this is prices after buyer's premium of Finance Collect, solely on Finance Collect weekly auction. Okay, so this is not the actual price that I get. Of course, there is a minus some commission fees of roughly between 5 to 7% depending on the value of the card. But gross revenue here is 250K plus for the first 3 months of the year. And now we're looking at the items in blue today, which is basically from the 7th of April up to final week, 6th of June, okay, which is just ended today, just a few hours ago. Okay, that was weekly auction number 176. So if I total up the total sales for this period, I have a total amount of $151,000. Now, based on trend, obviously, this is not on track compared to where I want to be. So the goal was trying to hit $1 million by the end of the year. So I'm targeting to try and get at least 500K for this first half of the year. So right now in totality, I'm at total, you can see here, 424K. Roughly shy, still about like 70 odd K shy with about 3 weeks to go. Not really sure if I'm gonna get there. I might be a bit short. I'm thinking maybe based on my forecast on some of the stuff that's gonna come in, probably be close about like 460, 470. So just a little bit off compared to where I expect to be or hope to be. Okay, so we're going to dive through some of these weekly auctions here. You can see here the weekly auctions I have here, 169 onwards to 176, and total sales value here between 23K, 32K, 12K. This is going to go through some of the cards here, and you guys have a better understanding of what kind of stuff they've been moving. So let's go right to it. All right, here we go. So this is the Fanatics Collect weekly auction. So you guys can see, look at over here, sales data. This is for weekly auction number 169. Okay, so as you can tell, these are sorted from highest to lowest. This is the price total on hammer price before buyer's premium. And I'm going to go through the list. Top of the list here is Anthony Edwards, okay, which I sold in, okay, you can see here, April 13, which is just right before the playoffs. And unfortunately, right, I believe this card did a lot better leading towards the later part of playoffs, where they actually went up to the West Finals, okay, losing to SGA. But when I actually bought this card, I paid roughly about 7,800, close, and a net about like 7,500. So I lost some money on this Anthony Edwards, which is pretty surprising. When you look at the PSA 9, and NTRPA, and this is a pop 4, okay, with only one grade higher. So it's quite surprising that I actually lost some money on this one. Okay, so let's move on to the other cards here. So we have here a Kobe Gold Refractor, rookie refractor numbers 269. This is a PSA 8. I actually bought this in a CGC 8 and I submitted to regrade and got a PSA 8, although the price didn't really bump that much. I think I paid about maybe 3,200, 3,300. I got about like $600 profit on this thing. Not too bad, not too bad at all. Okay, the next couple of cards here, you can see here, Penny Hardaway, Star Rubies, PSA 6. This is a Tracy McGrady Rose Zero Legacy Collection, and then another Tracy McGrady Essential Credentials. And I'll scroll all the way down here to this Bill Russell Topps Chrome Gold Refractor. If you guys follow my Instagram, these 4 cards I actually purchased from Leland's, okay, and I paid roughly close to $10,000 in totality after shipping insurance. But you can find a price on these 4 cards. You can just do rough math in your head here, right? So it's 3,800, and these two add together is probably like 4,900, 3,900. So it's like 8,000 plus another $600. So it's about 9,400. So in totality, I still lost about $600 on these 4 cards. This is really, really disappointing because I expected the essential credentials to do way, way better. To be honest, not the net 2,400. I expected it to close, easily close to $3,000, similar to the Rose Zero BGS 9.5, which was very, very surprising. Okay, now moving on, let's go to the next one, which is weekly auction number 170. Now 170, let's see here, in totality, we have about like $27,000 before buyer's premium. So it's a big week in terms of sales, and there were some big cards that I sold during this week. You can see here, first one was this 2003 Topps Chrome Gold Refractor Kobe R99. This is the first year gold refractor, PSA 10, Pop 12. Now I plan to keep this from my PC actually, but I need to get something else, so this card had to go. But what was surprising is I actually paid about 8,300 for this card, and I bought it from eBay from MC Sports Cards, which I felt was a pretty good deal considering I believe the last comps was tracking around like 10 to 12K, if I'm not mistaken. But in this case, finally sold for just 8,600. So whoever bought from me definitely got a good deal out of it, even though I made a little bit of money, but I thought I could do a lot better. All right, this is Victor Wembanyama. This is one that's pretty interesting. I shared on my Instagram as well. I purchased this with the thing was just a few days after he was declared out for the season, and I paid roughly about like $5,300 for this on for the next collect. All right, and subsequently just waited about a month, and I just relisted and sold this for a nice $7,500 with about close to $2,000 of profit. Okay, but that was not the only killer. The only next killer was this 2004 Ultra Platinum Medallion Kobe Bryant Pop 1 BGS 9.5. Sold it, got 4,400 close to it. I just only paid roughly about $2,000 for this Kobe. Awesome stuff. Next one, Giannis Antetokounmpo Mosaic Nebula Choice 1/1 PSA 10. This one was not an easy find. I got this from Card Hobby. Paid about $2,000 not through auction, but through a buy now. And it was pretty scary, right? Because I wasn't really sure what was the Nebula market for Giannis, especially for Mosaic. I know Prisms do really well, but for Mosaic, not so sure. Okay, but in this case, the Giannis still managed to sell for $2,760 and I net about like $700 in profit, which is pretty decent. Now, thinking back about this, right? Just only yesterday, I was on the auction to try to bid for a Steph Curry, similar year, I believe, 2021 Nebula Choice, PSA 10, right? So it closed for $6,800. Looking at this Giannis, maybe I should have banged a bit harder on that Steph Curry. So a couple other cards here, I can see some of these cards like LaMelo Ball closed for 1,200. I actually lost money on this LaMelo Ball. So Ja Moran, pretty bad timing on some of these stuff as well because I expected Memphis, they managed to sneak in there, but didn't really do that much. And then Jazz didn't play that well, and he's pretty doubtful to even remain on the team for next year. So I wouldn't go near Jazz cards for a time being, regardless whether or not we're approaching near season, until we have certain clarity on how where he is or how his team is going to be built up. Because the West is definitely stacked. I don't think the Grizzlies have enough firepower to combat OKC or pretty much some of the other bigger teams, even the Lakers as well. Okay, or even Minnesota for that matter. All right, moving on. Let's go to weekly auction number 171. And in this week, it's just a small couple of cards here, 10K sales in total. Nothing big here besides from this one here, which is the Orange Refractor Kobe with LeBron James number 499, BGS 9.5. Okay. Now this one, I paid about $5,000. So I lost $1,000 on this. That's it. End of story. So the rest of the cards, there was small stuff here. You can see here Tyrese Halliburton tag here. So for 661, I bought this for $300. So fast forward today, it may be worth quite a fair bit given that Tyrese and the Pacers are in the NBA Finals. Who's to know, right? Okay, I lost so much money on Tyrese in the early part of this year, to be honest, right? But I did make some money later on. I did have a couple more Tyrese lineup in the later auctions. Made some nice profits on them, but this is one that I made a couple $100, so it was not too bad, right? So a lot of smaller stuff for the week. Nothing really significant for this weekly auction number 171. Let's jump to 172. And in 172, 12K sales, not a big one as well. Jordan Ultra Star Supreme. So for 3,900, I think I paid like $4,000 on it. So I lost a bit of money. LeBron James, this is a Contenders Optic. 1 out of 10 PSA 10. This is a nice quick flip. Managed to snipe this on eBay for $1,000. If you check the card letter comps, that one on eBay, that's basically me. And I sold it for $1,380. Nice profit on this one. The others small, it's a plus minus week as well. A lot of smaller cards here. I'm not gonna dive into them. LaMelo Ball, another one of the big downers, right? I think I paid about like $700 for this 1 of 1 black tie cut. Maybe it's the wrong time to sell LaMelo, perhaps, but I'm in the game of just moving stuff quickly and not going to hold anything. Things can get worse, like Trae Young, for example. Okay, so let's go on. Next one. Let's move on to weekly auction of 173. Okay, big week here, 26K before buyer's premium sales here, and this is highlighted by my essential credentials 1997 and Funny Hardaway PSA 7. I created this myself. If you follow my story, follow my YouTube channel, I talked about this where I bought it raw. Okay, sent it in blind to Finesse Collect for grading, and I got a PSA 7. Nice. The only thing not nice is the price because I really expected this to close significantly higher, at least $9,000, or at least I would net close to $8,000. In this case, fell a bit flat. My opinion, fell a bit flat. All right. The one that didn't fall flat was this Donruss Optigraphs Choice Nebula Anthony Edwards. I paid about $2,000 for this one, close for I got net about $5,000, and it so happened that it was purchased by our friend Nat Turner. Okay, congrats to him for being the owner of this card. I did still think this was a sweet buy. Anthony Edwards did really do well. It's still 1 of 1, no doubt. It's a sticker auto. Okay. Next one, got some Kobe's here, so Luca, I got 2 Noirs here. Noirs are pretty underrated if you ask me, right? I kind of like Noir cards, especially if make sure it's at least player worn. Okay, which they are for these rookie years. For Shea and for Luca, they are player worn. So they are doing recently well. I think, as you know, Noir are super condition sensitive. The black edges are easily chipped, and they don't grade very well. PSA 8 is considered good. BGS 9, PSA 8 is considered alright. If you happen to get a Gem Mint, I'm not sure whether there are Gem Mint versions or not, but those are gonna be something really hard to come by. Okay. The first Tyrese here. So this is a NT number 25. This is RPA. Okay, 1380. Okay, I paid about me close to $1,000. I know I made a couple $100 on this Halliburton. I do have another Yep, there we go. Another Tyrese here. 2023 Black Disco 1 of 1 PSA 9. Got $800. I think I paid like 500 for this one. Bought it when it was still lower. This was way before the playoffs. Okay, who's to know? Tyrese Halliburton do some miracle wonders. Okay, and this is obviously will sell for more right now. Or only right now for at least for the next 1 week. After that, who's to know? Okay. Okay, so let's jump on to the next week, which is 174. And 174, small sales, nothing much here. We're just going to move on. I think it was just like an off week for me. Number 175, which is the last week, not just the past week. $6,000 in total sales before buyer's premium. That's highlighted by this LeBron James Sweet Shot acetate that sold for $4,500. Fair price. I think this is number 25 to 25 if it means something to anybody. BGS 910 auto on the acetate. Nice, clean auto. This one. But for me personally, I want to look for something better. I like patch autos, which I just acquired one today. This is nice from 2004 SP Authentic Fabrics number 6 out of 10 3-color patch BGS 910 auto. $8,000, 8,700 after buyer's premium. Obviously, goodbye for that one. Okay, so let's touch on the auction that recently ended just a couple hours ago. Today. Total sales $22,061 before buyer's premium, so that works up to be about like 26K in total. First one here, 2019 Contenders Tribute Kobe Bryant BGS 9.5, closed for 4,715 net to me. This was a hand price of 4,100, so means after BP is slightly above $5,000. Now this one's a bit odd, right? So you know that this is not numbered, and there's many of these versions of this tribute. And prices tend to vary. So you get some BGS 9s that's actually $4,000. You get some 9.5s. In this case, this is $5,000. So there is no one set for those. Of course, I do know there are certain versions that's highly coveted, like the one the trophy holding as well as the championship ones. So definitely, those are definitely highly coveted and very expensive. Moving on, second year Immaculate 2013 Curry patch auto number 75 BGS 10.5. There's Pop 7. Nice 2-color patch on this one here. Okay, so I plan to hold this a bit longer, considering its legacy on Immaculate. I just love early year Immaculates, but just want to move for some bigger stuff. So here closed for $3,200. I think I made a little bit of money on this one. So that's that. Moving on, I want to talk about this one. So it's a CGC 9. So you rarely see CGC cards, on the auctions, especially for basketball, more so for TCG. But in this case, I managed to picked up this one for a decent price, and I resold here for $2,600. So nice looking card, number 5 out of 5. Nice clean auto. Auto got a 10. I like CGC slabs in general. Yeah, I do have some marble cards that's in the CGC slab. But for basketball, I think the jury is still out there. People are still finding, their way through this. They're doing a lot of promotions and marketing, especially in Asia, to try to get people to move on board. Green for CGC is extremely cheap as well. Truthfulness Collect is just $9, and the turnaround time is just within days. Okay, compared to PSA, it can be months. Moving on, SGA, the man in the finals. This one here, PSA 8, Auto 10 versus just a Pop 1, number 210. This closed for 2,300 before BP. That means it's closed roughly about like 2,800 after BP. Seems a bit low for true gold. And in this case, even though it's a rookie auto, it doesn't carry the rookie logo. That maybe hurt it a bit. But again, it's a rookie year, right? It's gold. Maybe it's a PSA 8. So I just still think like 2,000 plus, $3,000 is still quite a good price to get this one at. You can see here, payout in progress. Somebody just can't wait to just snap it up quickly. Likely pre-relisted somewhere else. Okay, moving on, some nice other stuff. I got a NT Peerless Steph Curry BS 9.5. This is a Pop 1, number 25 to 25 again. Here, if you see this one. Okay. And a couple others as well here. Kobe from Anthologies, number 24. This is Pop 1. These ones don't grade well, in I've seen many raw copies. I've tried to acquire many raw copies. These don't typically grade very well due to the stock of the card, as well as the easy chippings and all the edges, especially. Raw cards still do quite all right for this one. I believe they fetch between $1,500 to $1,600. So it's not surprising to see a BGS9 copy to close at more than $2,000 because it's just almost as good as a gem. All right. Okay. Moving on, just some smaller cards here. Nothing really big deal here. Maybe touch on this Pippen here, PR progress. I don't really like to do much, but this was quite a cheap pickup for me. So that's quite, something for if there was a Pippen collector. In this case, I guess the Pippen collector picked up, ruby red, Pippen red, color matching, BGS 95, something for a PC. So I think it's all right. $1,300. I think I made a nice profit on this one. So that's some of the cards that I like to target. It's our nice cards aesthetics. I think that's really important in collecting these days. So that's some of my buying activities. Cool. So that's basically it, right? Going through all my lists of stuff that I sold in the past 8 weeks. Okay, total sales of $151,000 after BP. Net price, I don't really have the numbers in front of me, but it's maybe roughly, I'd say about maybe 130-ish, right? Maybe close to, 140, I think net. Trying to guess the net profit. All right, you'd be surprised. So here's the thing. Net profit over the period of last 2 months is only, drumroll, $4,000. That's right, $4,000. Okay, you're like, what? 140K net sales and you made $4,000. That's essentially what happened. Okay, there were some cards that did pretty well, some cards didn't do so well. I highlighted some of the cards that actually did some nice profits, but there was many others that really fell flat. You saw the Anthony Edwards as well. There were a couple of cards that really sank to the bottom. Okay, so that's my expectation usually when leading up to the playoffs. If you have the wrong cards, I believe I lost money on all my Ja Morants. I lost money on all my LaMelo Balls, and this was kind of expected. Okay, so the thing is, if you're spreading your picks, cast your net pretty wide, like what I did, right? Aside from buying just the usual Lucas, Anthony Edwards, Curry, you tend to gonna have this problem whereby you see a cheap card, you see a cheap jar, you see a cheap LaMelo, you buy it, you buy into it, thinking they make some good flips, but because of how to run into the playoffs, or because people are just focusing on the guys who are still in contention, and totally those guys who are not in contention totally just fall out of the radar completely. They may come back towards say August, so you could make a case or argument saying that you could buy and you could then resell back in August. But then again, I think the prices between February to I would say in April are kind of like that where the high point is for basketball cards as we lead to the playoffs. So lesson to be learned here is for teams or for players that you don't feel they're going to do very well, go deep into the playoffs, you probably should stop buying or should start selling most of them before February, at least before the All-Star break. And that's perhaps in the case of LaMelo and the case of Ja Morant here. For other guys, who obviously have good potential to do very well, Anthony Edwards, Luka, obviously these ones, SGA, these are the guys you hold on a bit longer. You, of course, obviously will get some surprises, right? Tyrese Halliburton will be one big surprise. Some of it will be consistent throughout. The Jokic, the Giannis, the Stephs, those will be consistent throughout. Win or lose. But you want to make the highest upsides, definitely go for the one that everybody knows, right? The key superstars that's currently in this league. So that's kind of the lesson for this one. That's the sales total up to the end of May, early June, 1 month to go. As I said, it's gonna expect a pretty slow month this month. What's the plan for the next couple of months during off season? So if like it or not, right, the finals is right here, and next thing you know, it's NBA draft, free agents is open, and then the market's gonna start again. So even though technically the season begins in October, but the real sports card market in terms of basketball kind of just begins in July, to be honest. So it's going to be a short break. So in this period, I'm just going to focus on doing some content a bit. Slow down on the buying. Maybe just pick up some nice deals if I can see any. But for the time being, the fast flips for this next 1.5 months will slow down for quite a fair bit as prices start to realign, start to readjust. Okay, that's it for this one. Pretty long video. I hope you guys got something on this one. Like, subscribe for this channel. I will try to get more consistent sales updates to you guys and share my inputs on what's been going on in the hobby, on my performance in sales. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Till next one. Come on up.